B-Leaguers, it's your boy here, Dan, at the B-League says, coming at you with a Week 14 NFL Pick and Props show. Here we go for Going for Two Live. As always, you can find us at Discord. You can go over there. It's a free channel, free server where you can go get your start sits questions answered, waiver wire pickups, trade analysis, all that sort of stuff. Find us over there for some betting advice, for stuff like this and content like this as well. We are going live today. Sorry, Jeff, I should have messaged you and told you, but screw it. We're going live. We did the same thing last week. We've got a bit of time up the sleeve, so we're going to do it. Normally, the show is pre-recorded. It doesn't matter, but we are here going for it anyway, as it would be. As always, we are going to use our props from Underdog Fantasy, promo code GF2 for 100% match deposit up to $250 on your initial outlay. As always, it's the same people that are watching this anyway. So if you have been doing that, what's up, Jamie? How you going? To see you in the chat. Happy Saturday morning. Let's go Browns this week. I feel another good result against the Steelers coming your way. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But yeah, we can find us over there, Going for Two Underdog. Nice little partnership we have going there. We got these props coming for us as well. Oh no, work on a Saturday, Jamie. Who wants to do that? That's no good, mate. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you as always. Speaking of Jamie, Kyle, and Topher, make sure you tune in at 11:30 every Sunday morning for the Starts and Sits show. They are generally right, and I'll take generally right most of the time. That's a really good bar to hit. When you are generally right, that's good. That's at least over 75%. If I was to be generally right, I think I'd take that. If I said, yeah, I need some start and sits advice, yeah, I'd go listen to these guys. They're generally right. I'd probably listen. I think that's as good of a compliment as I can pay. Either way, I hope you're well, guys. And again, tune in at 11:30 for them tomorrow morning, every Sunday, for them to go live. There are some start and sits questions to be had. Obviously, with six teams on the bye, please tune in and get your questions asked and answered by them as well. But let's get on with the props. We're going to talk about that Cleveland and Pittsburgh game. And we're going to talk about Mr. Potato Head himself, George Pickens. You fucking potato. Look, we're going to go lower than 4.5 receptions, but we're going to go over his highest long reception of 28.5. So we've got a bit of a mixed bag with Pickens this week. Let's look at this guy's week. This guy's come out of last weekend's game with his head coach telling him to calm the fuck down. And within 48 hours later, he starts calling out the Browns secondary. Now, listen, I'm all for rivalries. Great, have at it. But Mike Tomlin isn't. And that sort of behavior, it just screams to me, pack your bags, son, you're off to Vegas next year. Like, he's going to be a Raider. That's what's going to happen. Tomlin ain't having none of that. So good for him for coming out of his lane and saying, you know what, screw it. We're going to go and chase the Cleveland secondary in the weekend. And it just sounds stupid to me. Look, pick his numbers versus the Browns. Let's face it, they're as erratic as his personality traits. Look, he averages around 41 yards per game on the road, but he averages 99 at home versus them. So being a home game, if you want to get over the 69.5, you've got a nice 30-yard buffer there. And he's getting – I couldn't blame you if you wanted to go over that. I can see chasing that. However, look, there's one thing he's never done. He's never gone over 4 receptions against the Browns. I know that sounds like this is home or away. He's never done it. So he's had 4 or fewer, like 3 a couple times, 4 a few times. He's never gone over 4, which is kind of wild. He's getting the 4.5 line as well. He's averaging around 3.5 per game against them. So the work is there. He's getting around 7 targets a game. He's being locked down with about 3.5 receptions per game. So add to it the shenanigans he's had this week. I think he might be getting that extra attention that he probably deserves from the Cleveland team. But the Browns, they've been all over the place first receivers this year. Look at how they've been. Amongst teams that have had played 12 games, they've allowed the 4th most yards, but they've given up the 4th fewest receptions. So how do you allow that many yards and not that many receptions? Big plays. They happen. So at 28.5 is his longest reception this week. I'm interested in that. In the 12 games he's played this year, he's only missed that marker twice, which is kind of incredible. So if 28, and obviously his line's going to change every week, if 28.5 is his line this week, he's only missed that twice this year. So that's kind of incredible for him. And look, obviously, we talk about they played the Browns a week or two ago in the snow game on that Thursday night. He still managed to go over that 28.5 yard marker, which is kind of incredible. So Pickens is all over the place. His yards, it's probably there. You've got a 30-yard buffer if you want to go over his average. But we're also looking at his longest reception and his receptions for the day. Pick number 2, Mayo Man, Will Levis. Look, higher than 212 yards, 212 and a half passing. I can't even get that out. Again, look, I think we're feeling a little spicy. We're going to talk about a bit of a spicy prop with Will Levis a little later, but we're going to say over 1.5 passing touchdowns against Jacksonville. Let's start this off easy. The Jags suck. Their DC was missed with their core defensive stars. He sucks. And they're just not the team that we thought they could have been 4 months ago. Everyone had them maybe challenging for the AFC South. They're nowhere near it. They're nowhere near that. So they're just not a team that we thought they could have been. They ranked last in passing yards per game at 284.5. And only Baltimore have allowed more passing touchdowns despite playing one more game. Look, with Trevor Lawrence's season being over, morale may be low, and I can see them not wanting to be a part of this any longer. I can't imagine they'd be interested in that. Look, since taking the training wheels off and letting loose a bit with Levis, he's been a bit better. He's been back from that shoulder injury. Multiple touchdown games in 3 of his last 4, and over 212 in 3 of his last 4 as well. He's been on a bit of a good run. Look, some chunk plays have helped. We're talking about a 99-yarder to Nick Okini Westbrook. Like, that's going to help your total stats for the day, and I understand that too. But you got to do the right thing, and you got to put it there for them guys to chase and catch and get a hold of. And he's been doing it lately. He's been all right. For that to happen, he's just, he's been doing that. So if you want to get spicy, you could tease him up to 2.5 touchdowns and get 3.83x, or his yards to 259.5 and get on that at 2.1. I find that interesting for him. Pick number 3, Bryce Young. We're going to talk about Bryce Young. Lower than 197.5 passing yards and under 33 pass attempts at Philly. Now, let's be honest with this. Philly ain't the team to fuck with. Look, going over, we're just not going to do that. So I don't care how decent he's looked. And he's had a few good matchups in the last few weeks. He's done it against Tampa, whose defense is constantly hurt. And Kansas, who, understandably, Kansas, they're the best team in the NFL right now. He's had a good game against them. Yeah, they've also allowed decent days to Bo Nix and Aiden O'Connell. So they've allowed people to have good days on them. Let's face it, they've been able to do that. Look, Young is doing better, and that's great to see, especially since it was the same media hammering his height, his reads, and his execution a few months ago. That's great. They have those big games. Look, he's got to go over 35 pass attempts because that seems to be the marker for him. Anything less than that, we're looking at about sub 175 yards per game. So if he's not hitting 35, he's not going anywhere. So at 33.5, I tend to lean with that. Look, Philly at home, they hold the most time of possession. And that's something, and third most overall. Carolina have the third least amount of time of possession on the road. And considering we're in week, 14, and he's only had 2 games on the road, he's hit 161 and 224. I'll let you decide which one on that went over in attempts. I think that's pretty obvious. We're looking at David Moore and Adam Thielen, and a mix of Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks, maybe. So, I don't know, too much about mix and match this late in the season to bank on anything that's not as consistent. The only thing consistent is if he's not going over 35 pass attempts, he's not getting there. His line's at 33.5, so I don't think they're that confident. So I'm taking the lower on that, both at 197.5 and 33 pass attempts. Pick number 4 for the Sunday slate. We're going to go Keenan Allen, higher than 49.5 receiving yards at San Fran. Look, I'm not going to tell you that this is my favorite play, purely because most of his season's been quite garbage. But since his OC got fired, Keenan Allen's kicked off a bit with 159 yards in 2 games. So nearly 80 on average over that period of time, which is kind of incredible. Double what he's been giving us all season. It seems like Roma Dunce has been put on the back burner just a little bit, and they've turned to the older, reliable heads to get them through the season, which I don't know if Keenan Allen's not going to be there in a couple of weeks' time. I can't see why you wouldn't want to be trying to blood through Roma Dunce. I remember saying at the start of the season when we were doing all the best ball content, it reminded me of last year's Jackson Smith and Jigba vibes. You got your Keenan Allen and you got your Tyler Lockett within Moore and Allen, and O'Dunn's was going to be the JSN. And it kind of felt like, as talented and as incredible, I really like a Roma Dunce. It kind of felt like this was a guy that was going to take maybe a year sitting behind these vets, which is fine. I remember when I first started playing Dynasty and watching along a bit more, they used to say, it takes 3 years for wide receivers to get going, and we expect these guys, because we've had some incredible rookie seasons over the past 5-6 years, they should be hitting that 1,000 marker every time. It's not happening, and O'Dunn's in that situation with a rookie quarterback and a conservative play calling. I didn't see that was going to happen. No point saying, I told you so, told you so. That's not what I'm here for. I just feel like we're going to be looking at O'Dunn's like we do JSN in 12 months' time, I think. Anyway, San Fran, look, they've had an up and down season marred by a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of injuries. We can say that, but their secondary has actually held it together pretty well. They still give up quite a little, 5th fewest receptions and 6th fewest yards. I'm not saying that they won't lock down the Bears or give Williams problems. I'm just saying we have a 30-yard discrepancy on his current form of Keenan Allen that I think we can exploit enough. I'm not saying he's going to get to 80 yards. He might get to 65, 70. It's going to be a lot of volume and it's going to be a lot of playing from behind for that to happen, but I don't see why that can be a possibility either. I'm going to pump through a couple of picks from Monday night's football because we got those props. We're going to get a better line now than we would on Monday. But we got Cincinnati at Dallas. Who would have thought that these two teams would be struggling this year? If you had told me Cincinnati and Dallas were going to win their respective divisions 4 months ago, I would have bought into that. I actually had Dallas winning the East at the start of the year. Their defense, they kind of reminded me. Their defense losing Dan Quinn, bringing in Zinner. I understand. I kind of thought they were going to be that team that would be in more shootouts than we saw. And obviously, Dak gets hurt. Run game sucks. I thought, okay, Dak's going to throw more. This could be a positive thing for Dallas. Like, everyone's kind of hammering them. But, like, I'm sitting there going, man, if I had Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott was my running back, I'd be throwing the shit out of it too. So it's a shame what happened to them. I'm a Giants guy. Like, I don't like seeing any team suffering due to injuries. But if you suck, you suck. But if you're injured, not much you can do about it. And same with Cincinnati. Like, they had that slow start. No T. Higgins. They lose Tyler Boyd. They changed that OC. They had a weird season. They lose Joe Mixon as well, but a weird year that, there's probably like 3 more wins that you'd be saying Joe Burrow would be the MVP of the year. That's not happening right now. So here we are, Monday Night Football, prime time with a meaningless game, but we've got players to play and we've got picks to pick. Chase Brown, we're going to go higher than 72.5 rushing yards and over half a touchdown. Look, we know the Cowboys aren't great versus the run. They've had hits across their DL and their secondary all year. Like, they've been all over the place. It's been inconsistent. Like, if you want to look at something horrible, go check out their linebacker rotation this year. It's been an absolute fucking mess. And in a way, unlucky to a degree, still. They've allowed the 8th most rushing yards amongst teams who have played 12 games, about 103 yards per game on average. Along with the 2nd most touchdowns allowed on the ground with 14. Their run D hasn't looked that bad of late, but taking into account they've played the Toothless Giants on a Thursday night at Thanksgiving, they were just terrible. And injured Washington running backs, like Robinson was injured, Eckler got the concussion, and a mixture of Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols. It wasn't something really inspiring. Running backs do hammer them, though. Mixon had 100+. Remember Saquon, he put 66 on him, but they benched him at like 3/4 time. That game was over. Bijan even had 85 in a game that was kind of not there either. Brown has, for me, been this year's Kyron Williams. And I know Jamie, if he's still there, he's probably going to agree with me. But you look at how this has kind of transpired. You have a subpar running back partner, a veteran in Zach Moss, like Williams had a year ago. They didn't really replace him with Khalil Herbert when he got injured. It's been wheels up for Brown all year. Over 70 in 3 of his last 4 and a touchdown in 7 of his last 9. If that doesn't remind you of Kyron Williams, then I don't know what does. Guy that's a little bit slower, not the most vertical, agile guy. And here we go. He's getting those touchdown carries because the team can get it down the field. Like, literally, this is almost how Kyron Williams went last year. The yards probably aren't the same, but the usage is quite similar. For me, anyway. I'm probably wrong. So it's been wheels up for him. 70 in 3 of his last 4, a touchdown in 7 of his last 9. With how the Bengals have been able to get down the field with ease this year, Dallas being really bad, I guess. I can't see them not being a chance at either prop this week. And also, we're going to tie this up with Monday Night Football's game again with Cooper Rush. We're going to go lower than 36.5 pass attempts. Look, the problem with this prop is the anomaly of one game. And this is what threw me off when I was looking at his numbers for this week. It's probably on the cards to happen again. And this is why I'm actually telling you what I want the prop to be, and I'm telling you what it's going to be. All right, so I think he's going lower than 36.5 pass attempts. This is probably why it's not going to happen. You can convince yourself otherwise. A few weeks back, the Cowboys got destroyed by Houston 35-10, but in such a game, Rush had 55 pass attempts. The problem with this is within the other 4 starts he's averaged 29 and never gone over 36. So he's starting to throw it a little bit more those last few weeks. The last 3 weeks, it's starting to come up more. Those first 2 weeks are a little bit shaky. And the leash is a little bit longer, so maybe they're allowing him to do a little bit more. But I think he'll actually have more success than we think against the Bengals, who allow the 5th most attempts amongst teams who have played 12 games at 33. So as much of a shootout as I think it could be, because since you allow that to happen, it's not as egregious as you'd think. So what I'm telling you is I'm 100% betting against myself. What I'm saying is essentially he's starting to do a little bit more. And because since he allowed it to happen, it might not happen as much as you think because they'll be able to move the ball enough as it will be. I think he'll be more efficient than what we think. It won't have to be one of those, this game's going to blow up and he's going to be chasing. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be closer to his average of 29, 30, 31. I don't think he's going to go over at all. Anyway, that's going to be me for this week. We're going to wrap up with this week's props to finish the show. But as always, come find us on our Discord, Going for Two Live. It's free. You can get your starts, sits, questions, dynasty, trade analysis, all that sort of jazz and propping and bet advice as you want over there. It's a free place to go. And Underdog Fantasy promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit, up to 250 big ones on your initial outlay. As always, I'm Dan at the B League says. We're going to wrap these props up one more time and enjoy your weekend, safe bets and all that sort of stuff. Pick number 1, George Pickens. We're going to go lower than 4.5 receptions, but his highest reception of 28.5 is in play to go over. Pick number 2, Will Levis. We're going to go higher than 212.5, 212.5 passing yards. I still can't get that right. And higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns versus Jacksonville. I like teasing that up to 2.5 though. Pick number 3 is going to be Bryce Young, lower than 197.5 passing yards and under 33 pass attempts at Philly. Pick number 4 is going to be Keenan Allen, higher than 49.5 passing yards at San Fran. Pick number 5 is going to be Chase Brown, double. We got Chase Brown higher than 72.5 rushing yards and higher than half a touchdown versus Dallas. Or at Dallas, not versus Dallas, at Dallas. And we're going to finish that up with Cooper Rush, lower than 36.5 pass attempts as it would be. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Dan at the B League says. Safe bets, happy punts, cheers, and goodbye.